The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men and bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. You say, what is that all about? Well, let me try to make it simple for you. In verse 3, in the middle, it says, my spirit will not always strive with man forever because he's also flesh. Just a very important point. He says, you may think your demons coming in and filling you and taking your demon power into your sexual actions are going to produce some godlike children. You may have some illusion about this supernatural power to transcend and to produce some kind of wonder child or to elevate you beyond the power of God to judge and to bring you into godlike status. But I'm telling you, when it's all said and done, you are only flesh. That's the point. You're just flesh. You're just mortal. You're not half man and half angel. You're just depraved flesh. And then he says in verse 4, and there were Nephilim on the earth in those days. Nephilim is just a term that means great men. Men of stature, men of power, men of influence. It is used only one other time in the New Testament, and that's in the book of Numbers, when the spies went into Canaan in Numbers 13, and they came out and said, there are giants in there. We can't knock those people out. They're giants, and we're just like grasshoppers. And the reason they used Nephilim there to describe them is because they knew the word from Genesis. It's not a race of people. It's not a race of people that shows up again later in Canaan because they would have been all drowned anyway, since only Noah and his family survived. It's simply a term used in Genesis to describe great men, powerful men. And it was borrowed by the spies in Numbers 13 coming out of the land of Canaan because everybody knew the Nephilim as great, powerful men. It's just a generic word for that kind of person. They were called, the term actually means falling ones, the kind of people that fall on you and crush you. Powerful, fierce, warrior type people. But he says they were on the earth in those days. It's important to say that because somebody might think that they were the product of these unions and that angels, demons, and men got together and produced some monsters. No, there were powerful men on the earth. And when the sons of God, verse 4, went into the daughters of men and bore children to them, those were the mighty men and were men of old, men of renown. All you have is men, men, men. There were already some powerful men, and out of those unions there came some more powerful men. The point being that those unions didn't produce anything different than already existed. That's a reasonable interpretation of this. It's hard to be doctrinally dogmatic about it. The Nephilim is simply a term that speaks about powerful, fierce, great, strong. They were already on the earth. They were already there. Just the genetic pool produced them. And there were probably many of them that close to the fall of man when they were still living into the 900s of years and the corruption of sin hadn't taken its effect on their brains and their physical abilities. They must have been some great and powerful and mighty men. They were already there, and out of these unions came more of them. But they were men, 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 men. They were of flesh. And so what you have here is that all that the demons promised, all that Satan always promises, never does change human nature. It doesn't change human depravity. You're just of the flesh, man, 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 man. Renowned man, yes. Powerful, fierce warriors, attaining reputation and fear and all of that. But men, 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 men.